I am Andrea with Happy Cloud Creations, and I am jumping on today because it is week 2 of the Rainier Echoes Quilt Along. If you haven't joined the Quilt Along yet, that's fine. It's not too late to join in. I'll give a couple minutes before I get into this week's information. We're on Instagram and we're on Facebook, so after this is done, I'll also save this and upload it to my YouTube channel. This week, we'll be making all of the half square triangles needed for the whole pattern. I like to, when I make a pattern, I like to make each unit first, and then I like to make my blocks. I feel that it's a little easier that way, and it's like you get all the hard work done in the beginning, and then it's just kind of like putting those blocks together. Good morning, Dory. Okay, good. Make sure I can see comments on both. Hi, Mason. So if you're new to quilting, half square triangles are like one of the basic blocks that are pretty easy to make, and you can make so many different designs with them. The trick is just trimming them correctly so that they end up having the same amount of fabric on each side in the point. If you make them larger and trim them down and decide only to trim from one side, sometimes this can be uneven if you don't do it correctly. Hello, Darlene. Hello, Anita. Glad you guys can join me today. So this pattern has a total of, I think it's 36 finished half square triangles. That's not too many. Hi, Kathy. But it can be a little daunting. So that's why I give you a whole week to make them and trim them. If you don't finish trimming them all this week, you can continue to trim them next week. Next week, we will be making our flying geese, which they can be a little tricky, but if you are patient and maybe do a practice, they're a little easier. So the half square triangles, you're going to want to do your right sides of your fabric together. It's kind of hard to see because this is a print on print. Right sides of fabric together. And then I drew a little purple line from one corner to the other. My two favorite marking tools are the Disappearing Ink Air and Water Soluble Ink. This will actually reappear if you iron it. So like if you mark it one day and you're like, oh no, my marks are gone. If you go and you iron it, the mark will reappear, which makes me think you're going to want to wash this if you when the quilt's done, just to make sure it's totally gone. I typically will use a hair marker. This is by Clover, and it just leaves an indent in the fabric so that you can see a line, but you don't have to worry about having it wash out or anything. So I love using the hair marker for my half square triangles and flying geese. So you just want to mark one line from one corner to one corner, and then I typically pin it, which I've already sewn mine, so the pins are gone, but I just pin one here, and since this is a larger square, I'm making the large throw, and each size of this quilt, the smaller the quilt, the smaller the block. The larger the quilt, the larger the block, right? So this one's a fairly large size square, so I'd put 3 pins in it. So a 1/4 inch scant from each side of that line. So I just sew one side and I kind of chain piece them, go around, and then do the other side. And then when that's done, oh, scroll down. Can't wait to work on half square triangles. Yay, Sandra. You can either lay it down and use a ruler and your cutter to cut down the centers, but I like to just take my scissors and, sorry about those sound of notifications on my phone. Should have turned that off. I just cut them down the center. It's a little easier, I feel. Then you don't have to worry about slipping with your ruler and cutting that line uneven. So then it gives you 2 half square triangles. I like to take my iron, press the seam, and then I just finger press it open and press it again. Then we have a bunch of half square triangles with little dog ears. There is one tip that I have for if you are doing a directional print. I should have done it before I cut it open, but if you're doing a directional print, you're going to want to say this is a solid square. You're going to line all your prints up the same way when you're stacking them, but for directional prints, like half of your units, half of your combos, you're going to want to put the angle this way, and then the other half, you're going to want to do the angle that way. That way, half of your squares will be facing one way, half will be facing the other way, and so when you make each of the blocks, you'll be able to set them out and make all the prints go the same way. Okay, so we got these and we have them all ironed, and they have little dog ears, and they're a little bigger than we need, which is exactly what I like, because sometimes you don't sew perfectly straight seam. Sometimes you don't, it's a little wonky. So we want these half square triangles to be perfect. So what I like to do is, since this is a larger block, I use my larger square. I just have I got this in a combo set, a 6.5 and a 12.5. And since, well, I guess I could use this one, huh? It's smaller. But if you're using a king or a queen, you might need to use a little bit larger. But you can use this smaller one. And I basically, you want to line this line. I got two different cameras, sorry guys. Line this line on your ruler up with your seam. And the first edge, I just take a tiny bit off of it. And then I'll rotate it this way, line that seam up again, and then I'll line this side, these sides of the square up with the size that I want my finished half square triangle to be. So mine's going to be 5.5 inches, so I want this one to be lined up on the 5.5 inches. Square rulers can be really helpful with trimming half square triangles. There's even ones that have like the block lock. It has like a groove in it, so you butt this up to the groove and it makes it really easy. If all you have is one of these large 6 by 24 inch rulers, you'll notice they have the grid lines down here, and so you'll just line it up with the 45-degree angle down here, and then you'll just trim one side off at a time. I know it takes a little bit longer, but if you don't have that square ruler and you don't want to go buy one, that's fine. Just use what you have. That's all I used to use beginning out. I just got these a few years ago, and I've been quilting for a while, you know. So we just use what we have, and then you can trim it so it's perfect on each corner, has the same amount of fabric on each corner. Does anybody have questions with the half square triangles? I know there's several different methods of half square triangles. This one is the one I'm most familiar with, and it leaves you with straight grain of bias on all edges. I know there's some other ones like the 8 at a time, but then it leaves you with stretchy bias edges. That's why I typically just go with the 2 at a time method. If there's any questions, let me know. It's a pretty simple block, and they go together fairly quickly. It's the trimming that takes a while. Last week, no questions. Last week, the first week of the quilt along was cutting, and I've picked the winners, and they've gotten their patterns. First week prize was 4 of my quilt patterns, their choice. And so this week, there will only be one winner because I have 1 stack of fabric. This is from my stash. I bought it last year. I've been wanting to make a baby quilt out of it, baby girl quilt out of it, but I thought since I'm doing a quilt along, I would make this one of the prizes. It is all out art gallery fabric. So to enter to win this giveaway for this week, you need to make all your half square triangles and take a photo of them. On Instagram, you're going to want to put the hashtag Rainier Echoes QAL. In the Facebook group, you can just post it in the Facebook group, just a picture of all your half square triangles, and you're entered into the group. I can go in the photos section and see all the pictures, and then I copy and paste all the names. And then one winner will be announced from Instagram and Facebook combined. So if you're on Instagram, but you're posting in the Quilt Along group, you can both post in both spots, as long as you are public on Instagram. If you are a private account on Instagram, I can't see your posts. So you can get 2 entries by posting on the Facebook group and on Instagram. And then one lucky winner will win this beautiful stack. I think there's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 fat quarters. Why did I think the presentation started at 10? Is that a different time zone as in the past? 11 here. Sandra, it is 10 here, but it's daylight savings time now. So in the past, it may have been standard time. We change, I think every 6 months. So I think like in November, our time zone will change again. So that may be why you're thinking the time zone's a little different, because it is. I think we just changed in March, beginning of March, we changed our time zone. So post a picture to enter the giveaway. And this is open worldwide. I don't know how well shipping is worldwide right now, but I will still be able to ship it to you. It may just take a little longer. It's not too late to join this Quilt Along. The pattern will be 15% off through the end of the Quilt Along. If you guys have any questions, let me know. You can email me at happycloudcreations@gmail.com, or you can just put a message in my Quilt Along group, or you can do a message on Instagram under one of my posts if you need a question, have a question. And next week will be flying geese, and I will jump on again next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time, which is now, but let's see, what time is it? It's 10:24 right now. So look at your clock. What time is it right now for you? That's what time it will be next week. And then next week, my kids will be back in school. Right now, they're on spring break, so they're playing in their rooms, but it's still the same. They're still at home every day. It's just a lot more Zoom classes, and I just got to make sure they do some stuff daily. Can you go over the different ways to make half square triangles again? I just showed the one way, Shannon. There are several different ways you can make them. I am only providing the 1, 2 at one time method. But I know there is, if you go on Pinterest, there is an 8 at a time method. And then there's other methods where you do strip. You do 2 strips and you sew like this. I forget what that method is called. But this is the only method that the pattern shows. And if you need sizes, the sizes are in the pattern. Lucky you, my kids have no more school. Well, my kids don't go to their physical school. They have school at home. Their teachers are contacting them via Zoom, doing Zoom classes, and they're going to set up websites. So I kind of have to maintain their school program, which is interesting. I'm not a homeschool mom, which a lot of homeschool moms and dads right now are probably like laughing at us like, we were prepared and you guys aren't. So it's a little interesting. They have like 7 Zoom classes a week. 2 a week with their teacher, 1 with their specialist, each of them, because they're in different grade levels. And then my daughter she's kindergarten, so she has a one-on-one with her teacher every week. So it's different, but I think we'll get used to it by the end of June, you know. It's different. So at least they're getting some sort of education and not just, you know, done from school. So we'll see how the rest of the year goes. So I guess that's it for this week. If you have any questions, email me, message me, whatever you guys want. And I will talk to you guys next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific Daylight Savings Time.